when I was a brand new COO, I had the opportunity to work with and be mentored by none other than Leila Hormozi. And when I think back to that year that we worked together, there are 3 major lessons that she gave me that absolutely transformed how I think about business, how I think about life, and what it means to be truly successful. And these are 3 lessons that I hardly ever hear her talking about in her content. But for me, getting to personally work with her were the biggest takeaways and game changers for my life and my career, including one lesson that revealed something we fundamentally differ on and that sent my life in a complete opposite direction. So we're just gonna get real right now. Here we go. The first thing that she taught me is you get what you tolerate. All of us, as human beings, as entrepreneurs, we get what we tolerate. We get the level of business success that we tolerate. We get the level of personal fitness that we tolerate. We get the level of team performance that we tolerate. What does this mean and why did this change my life? At the time that we started working together, I had a business that was struggling. I was in a relationship that wasn't serving me anymore and didn't make me truly happy. And I had a team that was perpetually disappointing me and perpetually underperforming. And what I learned from Leila is that fundamentally, all of those things were happening in my life because I allowed them to, because I tolerated them. Every day, I woke up not in love with the person next to me, and I tolerated it. I showed up to meetings where my team disappointed me, and I tolerated it. I looked at my P&L month over month and saw it not growing, and I tolerated it. Versus when I compare that to Leila, and I'll just share a tactical example to kind of illustrate this. I remember I was having an issue where my team wasn't showing up live and on camera to all of my Zoom meetings. And her team was on time, on Zoom, every single meeting. And I asked her how she did that. And she said, Jhana, it's really simple. The very first time a new team member joins the company and they don't have their camera on, I will immediately privately DM them in the Zoom chat and I will just let them know, hey, just so you know, at this company, we expect for your camera to be on every single meeting. Please correct this immediately. And that's it. All of a sudden, everyone has their camera on. And if somebody consistently under-delivered on my expectation, we would fire them. We would fire them over not having their camera on a Zoom meeting. Why? Because I do not tolerate my team showing up as anything less than their absolute best. Now, this is a tiny example, but I saw that pattern explain everything about Leila, her team's performance, and the level of success that she achieved. Leila literally just will not tolerate anything less than excellence. She will not tolerate it from herself. She will not tolerate it from her team, from her business, from Alex. Her bar is so high. And simply by raising the bar, everything in her life either rises to meet it or it will no longer be in her life. When I started applying this to my own life, it was like magic. All of a sudden, my team's performance leveled up. And the people who weren't willing or able to perform at my standards, we got them off the bus. All of a sudden, I left that relationship. All of a sudden, the business started to grow again. It made no sense because it was so simple, but it was so powerful. The reality is that if there is something right now in your life that you don't love or isn't supporting you or isn't working out for you, at the end of the day, you are tolerating that. You are allowing it to exist. And by allowing it, it exists. If instead we raise the bar, if we literally decide internally in ourselves, you know what? I actually no longer tolerate that. I literally do not live in a world where that is acceptable in my life. Then what's gonna happen? We will take immediate action to either change that situation or remove it from our life. And so what I learned is that the level up has to come from us. And it doesn't come from setting bigger goals or a bigger vision. It actually comes from raising our minimum acceptable standard, raising the bar of what we are willing to tolerate in our life, and then how we show up and act in alignment with that new standard. And yes, this applies to business, and yes, this applies to team, but this truly applies to every single facet and area of your life. What are you tolerating? The second life lesson that I learned from Leila is what to do with fear. Again, at the time, I was a brand new COO. I had no idea what a COO was even supposed to do or what operations really was. I was building and scaling this company and I'd never grown a company before. I was living in a van at the time, traveling through South America, and everybody told me how dangerous it was. And so the result of all of this is that I was really afraid, like all the time. I had so much fear that I would mess it up, that I didn't know what I was doing, that I was an imposter who didn't deserve to have or to do the things that I was trying to do. I felt all this fear every day. And what I learned from Leila is what to do about that. What she taught me is that fear is not bad. Fear is not bad, it's not good. Fear is neutral. Fear is data. All fear is your brain trying to keep you safe. All fear is your brain saying, hey, we've never done that before, big, scary, run away. And on the far side of fear lies growth. Inevitably, that when we do the thing, despite the fear, when we move through the fear and we get to the far end of it, what we find is that we did the thing, that it went better than expected, that we actually were capable of figuring that out and making it happen, that it's actually not as dangerous as our brain expected it to be. And so what Leila taught me is that fear isn't actually a problem. Fear is a leading indicator. Fear is a bright orange arrow saying, hey, growth this way. And all that needs to change isn't the fear itself, but our response to the fear. If when we feel afraid, instead of backing away and trying to keep ourselves safe, if instead we train ourselves to lean in, to step forward, to follow the arrow and actually chase it down, then fear is actually always pointing us towards where the most amount of growth is. And so what Leila taught me isn't to not be afraid. She's afraid all the time. I was afraid all the time. It's not about eradicating fear. It's about changing our response to fear. It's about changing fear from something that is bad to data that is neutral and changing how we interpret and respond to the data. So now in my life, whenever I'm afraid, I have trained myself to, instead of backing away, to lean in and say, I'm afraid of this. Why and what's on the far side? And if I want that growth, I will lean into the fear. I will move through it. I will act in spite of it. And I will get to the far side having grown faster than if I had stepped away and tried to keep myself safe. And so I guess my reflection back to you would be, where, if anywhere, are you allowing fear to hold you back? Are you allowing fear to be bad, to be dangerous, to be something that you step and lean away from? And what would happen if instead you leaned in? The third lesson that Leila gave me is probably the most transformational, the biggest. And before I get to it, I just want to acknowledge, I know this is like pretty high level, pretty mindset focused. There are so many tactical, operational tools that Leila taught me and gave me that totally transformed my business. So at the end of this video, I will direct you towards another video where I focus on the more tactical, operational takeaways. And really what Leila ultimately helped me understand was how the heck to build a profitable, operationally efficient business. And from working with her and working with hundreds of other companies, I've gone ahead and taken all of the most common bottlenecks and stuck them inside what I call a hidden profit finder. So if you want the 80-20 of what Leila taught me on how to build a profitable company, there's actually a tool. I've made it entirely free. The link is in the description and it will help you tactically build a more operationally efficient and profitable business. So if you're like, thanks for the pep talk, Jhana, but how do I make more money? Go ahead, click that link and that'll get you what you need. But in addition to that, I do want to share one more kind of big life lesson. And I think this, of the three, has had the biggest personal effect on my life. And in this area, Leila and I just fundamentally differ. We fundamentally disagree. And so I got this lesson from her, but it ended up sending my life in a radically different direction from hers. And here's the lesson, which is that our highest responsibility as entrepreneurs is to design and build our own definition of success. What does this mean? It's so funny that we as entrepreneurs talk about getting out of the rat race, right? Escaping the 9-to-5. But what I find is that we then turn around and fall right into the next rat race. It's the entrepreneurial rat race, where we let other people tell us how big our business should be, or how hard we should work, or what we need to do to get there, or what we need to sacrifice to get there. We buy into this belief that there is a right way to run your business, that there is a right size that you should want to get your business to, and that you should be willing to work harder, do more, and sacrifice more in order to achieve it. And what I learned from Leila is that that is just fundamentally not true. There is no correct definition of success that you should want to chase. What Leila taught me is that every single person gets to decide, what does success actually mean to me? Do I want in a $100 million business? Do I want to work 80 hours a week? Do I want to travel the world, to spend time with my family? What is actually most important to me? Not what other people tell me I should care about. What is actually most important to me? What does success actually mean to me? And so success to Leila looks like an $100 million business by the time she's 28. Success to Leila looks like Forbes and TED Talks and going on to build, God knows what that woman is going to build. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And at the same time, she puts in crazy hours. She works so hard. Work is her love, it's her hobby, and her and Alex are just going to keep working probably forever. And what I learned by observing her is that that is not my definition of success. That's actually not what I choose. It's not the set of goals that I want to chase. And just because it's possible and just because it's bigger doesn't actually mean that I will be more successful if I chase it. In fact, I will be less successful because I will spend all of my time and energy chasing somebody else's definition of success. So when I saw how her and Alex show up in full alignment, not just with what's going to build me the biggest business, but what's going to make me successful on my own terms, what that caused me to step back and reflect on is, what does success actually mean to me? What are my goals? What are my priorities? And it turns out it's not to have the biggest business ever. That's not the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me is my quality of life, is the experiences I'm able to have, is the travel I'm able to do, are the hobbies that I'm able to have that take me far away from the computer and up into the mountains. These are the things that actually define success for me. And so I am working just as hard to build my definition of success as Leila is to build hers. But our definitions of success differ. They vary wildly, and neither of us are interested or busy getting caught up in the entrepreneurial rat race. Because what happens, and I work with so many clients who fall into this trap, is that we trick ourselves into believing that we want a bigger business, that we want a bigger team, that we want to scale, that we want to exit, that we want to grind, that we want to work 80-hour weeks. We build a definition of success because we see other people doing these things or saying that these things are good, and we miss the fact that that actually is not how we define success. It's actually not what we truly want. And then what happens? We end up with these giant businesses and these huge teams and these 80-hour work weeks. And at that point is generally when our clients call us in to say, Jhana, fix this because I'm miserable. I'm burned out. I feel trapped by my business. I don't love it anymore. I want to burn the whole thing down and just get free. And if we really look at why that happens, it's because they chased a definition of success that fundamentally wasn't actually theirs. And now they find themselves living somebody else's success, fundamentally unhappy, fundamentally out of alignment, and willing to do anything to get themselves out of that situation, including exiting their business for pennies on the dollar, burning the whole thing down and just walking away, scaling it back down to a manageable size. And so I've actually seen this now play out in the lives of dozens and dozens of clients, and it's just helped me realize that there is no right way. There is only your way. There is no right version of your business. There is only the version of your business that supports you in living your definition of success. And that places an incredible responsibility on us as individuals to step back and truly ask ourselves the question, how do I define success? And what are the choices that I will make in order to build a business and a life that aligns with my definition and not anybody else's? So if you follow me on like Instagram or other social media, you'll see that my life looks like pretty much the opposite of Leila's. I am not working most of the time. I am out in the mountains. I'm rock climbing, I'm rafting, I'm traveling, I'm speaking. And yeah, my business is smaller than Leila's, and it probably always will be. And you know what? I feel great about that because every single day I'm fulfilled, I'm aligned, I'm living my best damn life. I am living my definition of success as fully and completely as she is. And I am so grateful to her for learning this lesson, even though this lesson ended up taking my life in a fundamentally different direction. And my invite to you is to take a step back and really, really ask yourself the question, what do I want my life to look like? What do I define success as? What do I want my day-to-day experience of running my business to actually feel like and be? And then what do I need to do to make it happen? Because almost inevitably, what you're gonna need to do is to stop listening to what everybody else tells you to do and figure out how to build your business in a way that matches your definition of success. I hope this was helpful. I know it's big picture. If you want the drill down into the tactical of what Leila taught me around running a business and operationalizing a business, you can check that out. That video is right there as promised. And my hope is that you take both. Take the tactical insights, but also take the life outlook, combine those two things, and that's what's truly going to give you the life and business of your dreams. And truly, from my heart to yours, I wish you the best of luck with it.